That's all good. That's all good. Thank you, Karen. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time out to be here today. It's a bit of a grey, wet one, um, which is hard to get people to church on the best of times. But thank you all the same. Um, I have an agenda. All the documentation will be up on the screen. Um, we've got some agenda. I've received some reports in the last uh, little bit, but we can put those up as they come. Thank you everyone for coming though. We'll start with a devotional thought, if you will, but before that we'll start with a word of prayer, if you will. So we'll just bow our heads and we'll pray. Father in heaven, Lord, just as the year, it's coming to an end. Tomorrow is December, and this is an opportunity this afternoon for us to have a reflection on the church year and the things we've been able to accomplish and do, as well as looking forward to a new year, 2026. I invite that you would ask that you'd be with us. I invite you to be here as we just share and reflect during this time. Bless us now, we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, again, thanks for everybody for coming out. I'm going to share a thought this morning. I'm so used to saying this morning when I'm up here, from Matthew, and that's Matthew chapter 25, actually. Let me just pull up that verse in my Bible. There we go. There we go. So this is a passage which, in Matthew 25, it's one that perhaps we're very familiar with, but it's one I've been thinking on quite a bit lately, and this is Jesus' words in Matthew 25 and from verses 31 onwards. It's this moment where Jesus is describing what's it going to look like when he comes back. And he opens by saying, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. And we spent some time in church looking at this throne in the last little while. And we've been looking at this glory which Jesus has received. And it's with this enthronement that he comes back with this judgment, if you will. And I find what Ellen White has to say on this very insightful. And so a lot of this is just going to be thoughts that I've just gleaned from her, not very original, but I thought it was worth sharing. She has this comment. She says, Christ here is picturing to his disciples the scene of the great judgment day, and he represented its decision as a turning upon one point. So she sees this moment, and if you read it, you'll also see that actually this moment is very important. A question will be asked to all of God's people, whether they knew it or not, if they were God's people, but every person is going to be asked a question. And the question is not, how many doctrines did you master? Did you know all 28 of the fundamentals? Did you know the order that they go in? He does not ask if you knew all the 10 commandments, if you knew that the Sabbath was the seventh day of rest, like important things. That's not the question Jesus asks. He actually asks a very different question. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on his right, Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And here's this point. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, you visited me. I was in prison, you came to me. So it's always been an interesting thing for me to think through, because we are a very strong theological community, right? We value our rich heritage in understanding prophecy, in fully applying the Ten Commandments. But here, Jesus really simplifies. And you remember what Jesus taught when he was asked, what is the greatest commandment? It was to love the Lord God with all your heart. And the second commandment was like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And when I see Jesus coming with this sort of this idea of rewarding the people who've loved strangers, served people, I see the embodiment, all of the commandments, the embodiment of theology being put on display in this moment. It's not to say we don't value all of these things, but all of these things are designed to reveal who Jesus is, right? And so Ellen White says, when the nations are gathered before Jesus, there will be but two classes, and their eternal destiny will be determined by what they have done or have neglected to do for him in the person of the poor and suffering. It's a very interesting thing. And I've always struggled with this passage because I haven't always engaged with the poor and the suffering. And many theologians have asked, well, who are the least of these that are being described in this passage? And I think that's a very good question. Some say the least of these are God's representatives out there in the world who are roughing it out. There are others who suggest that the least of these are literally the downtrodden of society. It's interesting, though, because when you do read Ellen White's description of this passage, she says, all who have been born into the heavenly family are in a special sense the brethren of our Lord. She kind of includes everybody. It really doesn't matter if they're in the church or outside of the church, but if there's a person in need, that's who Jesus is describing. And so as a community, we have to ask ourselves, is this what we're about? She widens the circle by saying Jesus identifies himself with every child of humanity. Every deed of kindness done to uplift a fallen soul is accepted as done to him. So I thought about this and tried to get some application. So when you and I meet a lonely church member, that's the least of these. A struggling single parent, that's the least of these. A refugee family, the least of these. A teenager on the edge, old church member who's in hospital, person out there in the community who doesn't know left from right spiritually, the least of these. Jesus says all of these people, when you serve them, that was me. So I thought this was a point that I wanted to share. Could do a whole sermon on this, obviously, but I feel like Jesus here is describing us a metric of success, right? One day when he comes, this is what I'm looking for in my people. And I think as a church, to me, I'm looking at a teacher here, we have, when we grade students, we have rubrics. Here's what you do to get a low grade. Here's what you do to get a high grade. And Jesus lays it all out. And the emphasis is to love on him. What does he look like? The people in our community who need the help, both inside and outside of these walls. Let's pray, and we'll get into our proceedings. Father in heaven, Lord, thank you so much that you graciously showed us what we need to be all about before you come. In sharing this devotion, you haven't asked us to ignore theology. You haven't asked us to ignore doctrine and prophecy, but you have asked us to love well. And I think all of those things should help us to love well. And as a church here in Pakenham, you have called us to love well the Seventh-day Adventist people who call this place home, the new faces who are joining our community. You've asked us to love them well. You've asked us to love well the people who are struggling outside of our church. And so, Father, I pray that as a community we can continue to move in this direction of loving well. Thank you for blessing this church with a facility, with great members, and I pray that we would continue to move from strength to strength as we learn to love well. We want to model our lives after Jesus, so we continue to look to him as we, just seek to grow and understand what does it mean and look like to love well. I ask all of this in his name. Amen. All right. Thank you, guys. Well, again, thank you for coming out. We have, if I can put on the screen, if we can show on the screen, Graham, I had an agenda that I'd put together for this afternoon. So I'm just turning my notifications off because I'm getting WhatsApp messages and all that good stuff. So yeah, bit of an agenda here. You'll see it's not terribly long. So we'll try and make this a bit bigger for us all, so we can see a little bit better. The first thing I'll do, which you'll see is not on here, is I will share our minutes from our previous meeting. I'll just open that up for you. Okay, and I'll just move that across to here. There we go. So this was our last meeting, which we held back in May, I believe. Got the time, but not the month. So yeah, if you just have a look through, we've got our devotional. It was on Isaiah 55. We have this point here for our elders. These are the people who are present. Got our treasury report, which is all there. Okay. We reviewed our offering proposal, which was to trial the new plates, which had passed, and so now we have the one plate. The one collection by yesterday, which I'm actually very interested to find out how much we collected. We had a worship report from Shenando. Graham shared on the AV report. Hendrix was absent. Children's ministry was just starting. Thank you for stepping up to that space. We appreciate that, Vanessa. Catering absent. Anna shared a bit from literature ministries. Thank you, Anna. Our social committee. Cameron shared some things. Pathfinder report, brief ad report, ad safe. So it's all here. We won't go through it all in detail, but those were the minutes of our previous meeting. We also had a town hall meeting, which was technically not a business meeting. We weren't voting on anything, but we do have notes from that available for any who would like that. Just wanted to see if we have a motion to accept the previous minutes. Thank you, all those who want to accept. Thank you. All right, we're going to go through our reports. As you can see, I have 7 confirmed reports. I just received, I may have received another one, but yeah, we'll go through these. I have the treasurer's report. Now, I am not the treasurer, but I have been asked to present his report. If you can come through, I'll just bring this over. Here we go. So it's all numbers, obviously. I had a look at this, and I got ChatGPT to help me just spot anything out that is worth noting. But we're actually in a pretty good financial position as a church. Our total income for since our last gatherings, we've got approximately $80,000. Sorry, this is a new bottle, and I always forget to push the thing. Our total expenses have been approximately $37,000. I might actually zoom out a little bit if I can. I think I might not. So yeah, we've actually been doing pretty well as a church. A lot of our income is through our rentals. There's significant underspending, which seems to be often the report that we get at this time of year. Departments are given a bit of money, not everybody is spending it. I think in our case, in the Vito family, we do spend, but it's always little things. And Ricardo's like, send me the receipts. And I'm like, oh, it's all right. And then you look at the end of the year, like, actually, we should have sent these in. So I think that's what happens a lot in church land. We are spending money, but it's just little things, and we don't think to hand those receipts in. So I'd encourage people to do that. I'd encourage you guys to encourage people to do that for those who aren't here. Yeah, so if I just continue to go through, yeah, our local budget offering, as we started to do this experiment with the one plate, and we increased the amounts that our members were able to give. If you remember last year, was it $10? And if you wanted to give 20, you had to tap. And then you had to tap. This is a much quicker process, and we're actually finding our local budget has increased quite significantly, which is a really cool thing. I've been encouraging all of my friends. The plates do cost a little bit, but I think the way we give as a society, it's really connected with our church. And I would not call, no disrespect, I wouldn't call our church a particularly tech-savvy community, but I think this is just the nature of how we do money. So I've been quite pleased to see how this has all worked out. Sorry, my computer's just about to turn off. I need to open up a program. Is it open? Yeah. There we go. All right. I have this program called Caffeine. It's a little coffee mug. If the coffee mug's empty, it means there's no caffeine and you'll fall asleep. So if I push the button, the coffee cup fills up and we won't fall asleep. Yeah, so continuing on in the finance report, say many of our departments are underspending. For instance, our youth department, our benevolent fund, it hasn't been updated, but the funds we did use our funds to support Anthony Batifora and his family. Anthony is going, sorry? Costello, his mum's Batifora. I'm pretty sure the mum's Batifora, but his surname might be different. Yeah. But yeah, so we gave some funds to the family. They're going through quite a bit. If you're unfamiliar with the situation, I think most would be. Anthony is a member of Heritage College, has a very rare terminal form of cancer, and as I've recently found out, his prognosis is that he probably won't make it past Easter of next year. So the funds that our church have been donated have been very much appreciated. So I just wanted to affirm our church for passing that fund on. We very rarely use the benevolent fund, and Ricardo was like, well, I set a new budget aside and let's take 2 years worth and we'll bring it together. So it actually helps quite a lot. So just want to affirm just everybody who's involved in that decision-making process. Other than that, there is no other major things to report. We did this year take on a new cleaner, which I believe, I haven't heard any complaints from anyone, and I heard those for the first 2 years, so sounds like a good thing. Okay, thank you for picking that up, Anna. We should make a note of that. Yeah, well, our guy's happy to take feedback, so let me know. We had a moment where our gardener stopped gardening and then he felt impressed that he should, so Trent's gardening for us again. Other than that, we're doing well financially. Having said that, sorry, I should have scrolled all the way through. So these are all of our expenses for the year. As you can see, I'm looking at 2 different screens, so I'm scrolling as I should. This is the closing balance here for the year. So financially, we're in a pretty strong position. And, as a treasurer, Ricardo, he's not one to splash money. It's not to say we've got money to spend and deep pockets, but he's done really well to just help steward what we have. We do have opportunities to use funds, which we're not. I guess that's the point that's probably there to be made. Having said all of that, would anybody like to comment on the Treasurer's report? I will try and field questions as best as I can. Better not to ask. Would anybody like to accept a motion or make a motion to accept the Treasurer's report? Thank you. Any seconders? All in favour? Thank you. All right. So I've got the confirmed reports, so I think we'll work with who we have. Vanessa, I have you up as somebody who can share next, if you'd like to join us.
Hi everyone. This year for our children's ministry, we've focused on meeting the basic and most essential needs for our children. While we didn't achieve everything we originally planned, we did manage to complete the core necessary parts of the ministry, and I'm grateful for the steady progress we are making. One of our highlights earlier in the year was the Mother's Day program. It was simple but meaningful, and the feedback from families were quite positive. Our Father's Day service and the breakfast in September was also a success, and everyone seemed to have enjoyed the service. And the children enjoyed celebrating mums and dads and mentors that they have. Each week we've been preparing Sabbath school activities for the kids for the service, and the kids seem to be enjoying those activity packs, as well as we improved it by labelling it so it's better organised and it's easier to manage. Another completed task was reorganising the felt set that was donated to us. It's a full Bible set that a person donated, and it's all stored and easy to access in the back for the teachers. In terms of child safety, we have the weekly sign-in and out sheets. That is mainly for the primary, just with the kinder and beginners parents being present with the children, they don't need to sign them in and out. Another thing, we also improved our facilities in the open space at the back, where the service is streamed with the quiet activities for the children, as well as the mother's room has been completed with the decor and a TV, thanks to Graham, who set that up for us. And it's a much better and comfortable space for mothers who need to see to their little ones. We have had some hurdles along the way. We haven't been able to capture all the children within our church, as well as run Sunday or Saturday afternoon programs, just due to time and the amount of activities that are on each week. But looking forward to 2026. Another thing is we don't have any teachers now for beginners kinder, so that is a challenge. We need to try and encourage parents to teach, or we might not have teachers next year for that age group. And I know there is one teacher that's probably stepping down from juniors, so that's another area we might need to fill. Looking forward to 26, we're hoping to have the database of all children within the church put together beginning of the year, and to possibly maybe run 1 or 2 socials within the children's department, as well as there will be the Christmas service, which will be taking place on the 20th of December. So I think that's pretty much it from my side. It's all been new, so I'm learning as I go along.
Thanks, Vanessa. I think to give Vanessa, she's done a really good job. She reluctantly accepted this role. Had to convince her a few times, but she's done a great job. Thank you, Vanessa. Should we go to publishing? Literature. Sorry, yes. Not writing any books for us, Emma?
Not publishing them, no. All right. So we started off with 4 of us at the beginning of the year, and then it just ended up pretty much just myself, and Jade continues the ministry in the city, but explains why we haven't achieved all our goals either. But as a church, including the book table, the book box, and personal sharing, we've distributed approximately $1,500 worth of books, if not more. And across a lot of themes and topics. The book table accessibility, it enables a greater ease of sharing and serves also as a useful conversation facilitator. So I don't know about you, but when even just yesterday, I met someone who came to our church for the second time. They're not Adventist. And you just ask them about themselves, and then you wander over to the table, and are you interested in certain things? And it really works really well. You just, give away easily 1 or 2 books. If it wasn't there, it would be a bit more awkward to try and share. Visitors have requested books on topics such as creation, children's books, and easy read spiritual ones, all of which have been supplied. So anytime someone asks, I make sure if I don't have it, we get it for them. Our church members distribute about 30 signed magazines to neighbours and friends every month as they arrive. I've also worked with Tainong Church to help meet their need for Bibles, so I just, using my literature ministry hat, ordered Bibles for them and just gave a sampling of books to help them start their own book table. And as I said, as Crystal and Paul have moved interstate and Jade's committed to her ministry, we haven't been able to sort of do, bookstores at market, for example, or we had issues doing the Father's Day distribution in the community, partly because our church was so busy with the Father's Day program, so they couldn't do them both either. And just some nice stories. Barry said that one of his work colleagues mentioned going for walks around this lake. So it wasn't Tim, it was someone else going for walks around the lake, and they found the book box and actually took some books from it and quite enjoyed them. So that was a bit of random, I thought. Even my friend Lenore, she loved the book by Mark Finley, Choose Hope, and she's requested copies for her friends. So it's like once someone loves something, I make sure that they're giving them out further, and they choose to anyway. My father, I gave him about 17 copies of Happiness Digest. He's distributed among also all the staff where my mum is as a resident. I've given Mum Live More Happy copies on her bed, and she's giving them out to her favourites. So, and like I said, Cynthia the other day, who was a visitor, graciously accepted Step Beyond, and there's many more like that. ADRA have also requested some books. I bought 30 children's books for ADRA, but also Vanessa, your books will also be handed over. I've been putting it off because I just can never get there on a Thursday. Church members also request copies of specific books for family, friends. The work's happening quietly, discreetly, but it's undeniable that God is moving on people's hearts to search, to read, and to be blessed.
I just really want to say a big thank you to Anna, because Anna's done all of this in the midst of a lot of significant changes this year. And so I just want to acknowledge, Anna, you do a lot. That table, we had a ministry like this at Lilydale, but it doesn't compare to what you've put on here. And the amount of people who engage with this, it's invaluable. So thanks a lot, Anna. I really appreciate that. The team started larger, and it's really just shrunk down to Anna. Moving on, these are reports that I will share in absentia. So I've got a report from Blessing, and I'll just open this one up. This is the Deaconess's report. Our Deaconess team has been involved in visitations, preparing meals for church members when needed, preparing gifts for members, transferring to our church, organising gifts for baptism, and assisting with baptism, ensuring gowns and towels are organised. We've also had a deaconess and junior deaconess rostered each week to assist deacons teams each Sabbath. We have assisted with communion services, ensuring the preparations are done and things run smoothly. In the last quarter, we assisted in our new communion dinner. The team were heavily involved in planning and setting up. They did do a great job. We have also made sure there is water at the pulpit for the speaker. Thank you, blessing. They've been minuted. In the last quarter, we had a few deaconesses ordained together with deacons by myself, Pastor Ryan. I would like to thank all the deaconesses and junior deaconesses for their assistance and collaborative efforts up until now, and all church members who support our ministry by sharing the load, especially on communion days or other special events. Any feedback would be welcomed by Blessing. Next year, she'd like to increase her team's capacity to visit by starting a visitation roster so that they can be more intentional. So that is the Deaconess report. Let me have a look. I had a very short report from Natalie. She didn't have too much to say. She was very much appreciative for the church for supporting the catering committee. She's really happy with her team. And I must say, the team seems to, Priscilla's taken a big role in that space, as well as Lauren and Josh or Joash. We had a catering committee meeting on Friday night, and Lauren and Joash and Priscilla were there, all excited about Christmas, which I was really excited about. So the team's really going well. I asked everybody to share challenges, and she said a kitchen would be great, and a sink. She's looking forward to a new church building. So she was pretty much positive all around, for what that's worth. And then I have a report from Shenando that I will also share. Let me just get that a little larger, and I'll read that to you. Okay. Worship update by Shenando. She's noted that there's no significant changes since the last report. The first thing she'd like to mention is that they've been continuing to work and evolve on the roster. It's been good to have new members in the form of Grace and Deanne. She's been hoping that there'd be a bit more collaboration between worship leaders, elders, AV team, which is something she continues to work on. She notes that just for transparency, but there is a cost for projecting lyrics on the screen that CCLI charges all churches, which is $875. That pays royalties to the songwriters and gives us permission to upload or to put up the lyrics. Who would have thought? Looking ahead, she's hoping to compile a list of musicians and singers across our church so we can get more involvement from our members other than the regulars. She's hoping we can get more teen, youth and children involvement in assisting in the worship service on the whole. Some closing reflections. She mentions that she's been praying for a new pianist because Anna carries. I look at these columns and Anna's like the column that carries the piano. So she's been praying for that, and she's like, Deanne is actually willing to help with playing the piano, which is really a really good thing. She's also working with Phoebe, so Phoebe can get better at playing, and we've seen Phoebe play. And she also appreciates having Pastor John to support on occasion. I asked him, as you recall, to play for communion, and his wife's like, "Do you really want to do that?" I'm like, "Oh, I think we were all blessed by it." So I'd ask you to keep that matter in prayer as well. She has a closing thought which she's entitled Encouragement. Just a bit of encouragement around serving God through worship. "I'm imperfect, I am defective, I am a broken vessel, but I've learned to lean on God through it all, to trust that His Spirit can work even when our human efforts fall short. In fact, some of the most powerful moments in worship have come when I let go of control and allow God to lead." So today I want to encourage everyone to put their hand up to serve God in our church in any capacity, and to, as the verse reads, whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Thank you. All right, so those are all the reports that I received. You'll see the pending reports there. We will, Graham, did you want to share something? I noted Graham had also mentioned that he was happy to share, so Graham, would love to have you come and share as well.
Right, so I know that's really small, but that's so far the YouTube stats from streaming this year. Since the last business meeting, I think we've got another 30-odd subscribers. Just for interest's sake, just the mix of ages and genders that are watching. It's no one particular group. Most people are watching on their TV, some people on their mobile, a few on computers and tablets, and most people find us just through a browser search or searching YouTube directly. The one they're labelled external, that's where we get referrals from other websites or other search engines and things like that. So very grateful for the help that Daniel and Matteo provide, and also Tinashe when he's able. So we're still growing online. It'd be great if we had someone who was a bit better at the social stuff to help with that and maintaining the website, but I understand that's kind of in progress at some point. And we did have issues with sound last month where we couldn't actually get sound out to the stream. We've resolved that. It was turned out to be a software update that got pushed out too early, and the church who worships here on Sunday actually applied the update without checking out the details first. So that's all sorted out, and as was mentioned before, we've got the TV out in the parents' room there now. So both the TV in the parents' room and the classroom area are getting exactly what goes to the stream during the service now. Any questions?
So thanks for the work that you're doing in this space. Any questions for Graham? Thank you, Graham. If there is, in the same vein of Shenando praying for pianists, I think it'd be great to pray for somebody in that to assist Graham in this space, because Graham's doing several things in the morning. He's helping our younger guys manage the mix of sound that's coming through. Someone's changing the slides, and then someone's managing the online stream. So there's like a lot of moving components to just helping, our service move along. So yeah, keep that in prayer. Moving along, I'll share some, a sort of report of sorts that from myself. Just looking at some of the things we have done through the year and things I've been up to. So you'll recall earlier in the year we had our 30 days of prayer, and look, I hope this doesn't come off as melancholic, but a lot of the things that I'll comment were things that the people in this room directly were involved in, not too many others. So we had our 30 days of prayer. Thank you for those who attended. It was very much appreciated. During that time, we were praying for, just a bit of direction. I had a sense of what I was wanting to do, and but just thought it would be good to pray for that as well. And out of that sort of was born sort of this desire to sort of focus on disciple making and working around groups and doing training around that. We also had our week of prayer, which we hadn't run one from church since I had arrived, and I'm going to be honest, it was a bit of an experiment. Anna came, and it was during a season of crazy on one evening. Other than that, it was just auxiliary and myself. So week of prayer, take that as you will for the future. But yeah, I actually was really encouraged to pray with auxilia through that week. It was actually a real blessing for me on a personal level. As I've noted, a small group initiative sort of was born out of this sort of prayer. We had a Sabbath afternoon where we sort of cast a vision for that, which had quite a few faces show up. Subsequent trainings had quite a low attendance. I must say I was very encouraged. We had 2 girls from Warrigal show up every week. Claudia was a regular, as well as Shenando and Natalie. But again, it was a little discouraging. We didn't have too many people showing up for that. The goal of this discipleship training was really to lay a root and a base to do evangelism from. And I really believe in the things that I was teaching. It's just not many people were there to hear about it. But the goal was, what if we could actually do evangelism through our members, not just letterboxing, but building relationship, getting to know people and their needs, and actually inviting somebody to an evangelism program that we know it's not a cold call, but it's somebody that we've cultivated. So that was the real goal, to build up towards that, to get groups a part of the church fabric. I don't think it's an impossible dream for our church. I actually think it's a really important aspect that our church needs, to do community together on the regular. So the plan was we'll get to what the plan was for next year. To date, I've only done 2 baptisms this year, but we have 3 more candidates that are ready to be baptized. I've been doing Bible study with over 10 contacts, some from the community, some from our church as well. I've performed a marriage so far this year. I'm working with 3 other couples to prepare them for marriage at the moment. One of them is from our church. That's Melicia's brother. I have to forgive me. He goes by Gavin, but his fiance knows him as he goes by Nigel, and he goes by another name to his fiance because that's the first name on his passport. So it's been a bit of a trick getting my head around that. It actually takes a lot of time. To our prayer people, you haven't seen me on Tuesday nights because I'm usually doing somebody. A lot of these people are getting married in January and contacted me very last minute. So it's been a bit of stress trying to get everybody ready with all the marriages. There is Adra has been a big part of my ministry and continues to be the place where I meet the most members of the community that I engage with. And it's been actually a real blessing to get to know so many people through Adra. We've had a bit of a struggle, I'll say this, without a YPW. Having Matthew was a real blessing in many ways. This is off the record, but I think Matthew's excited to work with me next year because he's at Burwood. but let's not dwell on that. When it comes to looking forward to the new year, to what's ahead, I've included the Christmas program just because I think it's a bit of a high point in our church's calendar. We're not doing a breakfast this year. We'll be doing a light breakfast. Priscilla, Joash, Lauren, they've got big plans. I'm excited. So that should be good. Sabbath school will be cancelled, but we'll have a full Christmas program, and yeah, that should be really good. So there's work on that. The 2026 vision was to build off of forming a discipleship base. I mentioned earlier in our first business meeting of the year that there was an incentive that was shared to make Pakenham a prayer hub via Facebook. From what I heard, the initiative is quite successful, has been quite successful as it's been experimented with in America, and the one time it was tried in Sydney by Wayne Boehm, it kept him busy for the whole week. Graham mentioned that it would be good to have work done on our website, so I've been working towards that end to have an updated website made for us. I was hoping Tristan Neas, Robert's son, could come and share with us a little bit of an update, but there was no pressure on him. He's a busy family man, so he couldn't come. But the church website, he's been working on it at no cost to himself. You would have seen him, the tall guy, big red beard, filming for us for the regional day. So we've been working on the website as a way for the community, if they come to a Facebook page, go, who are these people? There's a nice fresh website for them to check out and plug into. So it's been there's been a sort of a plan to work towards for 2026. And the website would be one part of it. Having an updated Facebook presence was also the plan. As you know, I'm no longer going to be the pastor in 2026. To that end, I thought I'd mention in this setting that the board has shared a list of names. Many of you are board members, 2 of you are not. Okay. I do believe the conference staffing committee over the last 2 weeks, they've met for a total of 8 hours to work on staffing. So there's a lot of significant movements happening. Our board members were presented a list of names and independently presented all of their top 3 each member, and a tally was basically put together where of the top 3 names, and those 3 names were sent with also a backup list outside of those names. So we're waiting to hear, basically just for transparency, what the process looks like is that our church sends the list of names, the staffing committee looks through those names and goes who is available out of those names, and that pastor is contacted. They prayerfully consider, they respond back to the staffing committee goes, great, pastor so-and-so's locked in, they rubber stamp it, and then they communicate that with us. So we're somewhere in that process at the moment. If the names aren't available, then the conference will report to us and we go back to the drawing board and more names are potentially shared. And they probably will give us the opportunity to cast our net a bit further afield. But what usually happens at this time of year, pastors like myself get contacted and yeah, for transparency, Burwood wasn't the first church I was asked to consider for next year. My approach has been to go, I'll pray about it. It happens a lot. I've shared this with the board, not necessarily the church, but since I've been here, I've been asked to go to 5 different places. And my answer is I'll always prayerfully consider. So if I say no, it goes back to whatever the committee that makes the decision, and then they go back to the drawing board and look at who else there is. So that's something of what will happen in our situation. Yeah. Any other questions on that? It's a bit of a waiting process at this point in time. But I believe we should, as a church, probably hear back from the staffing committee this time with regards to either we've locked in somebody that was on our list or we have to go back to the drawing board. We were able to get our names in just at the right time before the meeting. So I'm hopeful that Pakenham's considerations were thought through in the meeting. We didn't miss out. So for context, there had been a meeting the Thursday before, but I'm not sure where that put us as far as who was left on the list. For context as well, once we have that name locked in, it'll be a process for me probably through the month of December, working with that pastor on a transition and working through different handover type of things, getting to meet our leaders and all those kinds of things. So that's something to keep a watch on. Let's just continue. Yeah, I think that was the main thing that I had to share. The other thing of note that I also wanted to share was in 2026, the board approved to fund a YPW in 2026. A YPW candidate could be in this room at this point in time. I'll let you have a guess who that could be. But I'm really encouraged. Had a chat. Jeremiah is really keen to get involved. He's been helping out with our teens where he can and is having a gap here and has a heart for ministry. So I really think Jeremiah could be a great addition to our pastoral team, whatever that looks like. So thank you for being here and for helping out where you can. So those were the main things that I had to share looking forward to 2026. Are there any comments on anything that's been shared this evening so far? Yes. So the thought was we are going to cancel Sabbath school, but I think the catering committee just liked doing food. I was like, guys, you don't have to do it. Like, no, we have to do this. So we wanted to do something light. We'll have the hot water urn going, some juices and teas and coffees, and it'll just be some fruits and small muffins. Just something for people to chat over as we sort of thought it through, that there might be a fair chance that people will be inviting friends and family along. Might just be nice to break the ice before we go into that time. Yeah, so we do have lunch planned. Priscilla, I feel like it's a God-ordained thing. Priscilla was really keen to try doing something Mexican because it's a warmer time of the year. It's a bit easier to warm up a few pots of beans and then just have a spread of salads. And Lauren's expertise working at GYG came in real handy. She was like, you need to have 3 types of rice: Mexican rice, lime rice, and plain rice. And then we were just like, and I can make a really good pico de gallo. Like, okay, all right, this sounds like a thing. So we will have lunch. We all wanted to eat some of Anna's cherry, whatever. If it has cherries and Anna made it, we want it. More info will come out with regards to that. Yeah, so there will be lunch. Yeah. But yeah, any other questions? Yes. Why not? Why not? We should make it a whole day thing. Yeah. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming out. If there aren't any other comments or questions, we'll close our business meeting. Thank you everyone for attending. We'll have a word of prayer. Father in heaven, thank you so much for being able to keep the life of this church going, Father. At the heart of our church is you, Jesus. We need you to be front and center of everything that happens in this place. The thought that I shared at the beginning, when one day, Jesus, you'll ask us, what were you doing? At the heart of that question is, were you able to love me? Were you able to love the people that I've put in your way? Were you able to love them as though they were me? And my prayer, Father, is that through the ministries of our church, whether it's the gathering on Sabbath or the different incentives that will emerge in time, I pray, Father, that all of it will speak, we love you because we see Jesus in you. So, Father, please bless the efforts and the work of this church. Thank you. We have great people here, and I really believe that they'll continue to rise to the heights that you've called for us as a church. I want to pray a prayer over the new minister, whoever he will be, that you'll be preparing him even now for the privilege of being able to serve as pastor of Pakenham Church. Father, the year is coming to an end, and I also wanted to pray that at this time you'll keep us all safe. It's often a time where, things can happen, so I just pray that you'll keep us in good health, in good spirits. Some of our family will be going away overseas or interstate, but I pray that you'll draw us all back together as a family, ready to serve in 2026. This I ask, Father, in Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Graham, for doing what you do. And have a great week, everyone. Got awards night at school. Sure, that'll be fun.